What is depth? This is not a commonly asked question these days because we've somehow come to inhabit this world in which depth has been pushed aside in favor of knowledge or fact or opinion or at worst ego. And it's said that the new attention span of the modern human is between 2 and 6 minutes. And my ideal length is that allows me just enough space in order to touch depth in these fragments of light is probably around 11 minutes. So you can maybe see my dilemma. It's unlikely that you're going to stick around long enough to be reminded about what depth is and why your life is totally lost without it. So let's make a deal. I'll do my best to distill my message here in around 6 minutes. If you do your best to stay with me until the end of this little transmission. And if we can't manage that little intimacy together, I don't think either of us deserve to have depth in our lives. So what is depth and why is it so important in my life, my health, my relationships? Depth is the very food of your soul. We feed our bodies, we feed our minds, but if we don't feed our soul, we always still remain hungry, and we remain agitated, and we never get rid of the subtle background restlessness in our lives. That feeling, it's very human. It drives most of our lives. We can't properly be at ease. Just sitting, doing nothing, we can't be at ease. Why can't we be at ease just in our skin? And the answer is because our soul is starving for depth. The soul doesn't do small talk. It doesn't deal in polarity or opinions or politics or celebrity or success. It doesn't even deal in fairness or righteousness or even enjoyment. The soul's dimension, it's only vertical. The soul's thirst is only slaked by the cool, pure water from the deepest caverns of our being. So how do we find that kind of elixir? Well, it's rare. It involves a deeply private inner journey. And the soul is feminine. She needs to be courted in quietness, with subtle graces and the softest of touches. Your soul has to be romanced. Many of us have become addicted to memes and sound bites and short, pithy messages and marketing ditties. And we're hooked on videos tailored specifically around algorithms, been worked out by AI or some clever strategist following some formula. And they may be pleasing to our eye, they may tickle our fancy, they may give us moments of insight that we borrow from someone else. But these are like those sugar-laden fast food drinks. They temporarily slake our thirst, but then the sugar kicks in and we actually become even more thirsty. Depth is pure. The insights from depth have to come from within your own soul. And they come in moments of deep contemplation or pause when we've surrounded ourselves with silence or we're up in the quietness of dawn. Depth in relationships always passes in silence. Who can you sit with together in the deep blue ocean of silence with no awkwardness and no need, just listening together, just being together? That's a deep and truly thirst-quenching relationship. Depth is food cooked slowly over hours and days. The sister of depth is patience. If you can't wait, if you can't learn to be still, you won't find depth. The deep things in life take time. A young friend recently asked me, as I'm growing now into my elder years, to mentor him and to help him bring his vision to life. And the first thing I said to him was this. I said, your vision will take 30 years. He didn't want to hear that. Can you wait that long? You know, nothing that hasn't grown organically and slowly with deep roots over years of learning and failing and rebooting and refining, nothing will satisfy the soul unless it carries that depth, that integrity, and that purity. It simply won't last. Nothing lasts without roots. Look at our leaders. They promise us things tomorrow, and they can't promise that. It's all bluster and lies. Everything lasting and worthwhile on this planet takes time. It takes much longer than the tenure of a single person in leadership. True and meaningful change takes generations. Soul change on a social level, the kind of change that our souls are really yearning for in this world today, our governments can't deliver it. No leader can. Lasting change comes from depth. And depth comes from a contemplative philosophy, a deep reverence for all life. It can't arise out of argument. It can't come from pressure or from polarized parties or from blame. Depth alone can save our world, will save our world. I say it will save our world with deep conviction because I'm a contemplative person. And the contemplative person doesn't compromise their principles for anything or anyone. Even if they fade into obscurity, it doesn't matter to the soul. The soul is nourished by its own wholeness, by its own trust in the rhythmic tides of the whole universe. And so depth will save our world because shallowness will fail and fall apart. You know, the civilizations we've built, the modern world, it hasn't emerged from depth. It hasn't emerged from our sense of eternal being. It's emerged from our restless egos, and it will follow its arc until it's destroyed itself. And after this empire's crumbled, this world of sand built on sand, when it's all gone, and the forests and the trees and their deep, patient roots begin once again to restore the balance, depth will return. It's always been there. The forests beneath our cities, the peace within ourselves, the softness around our eyes and our hearts, the breath in our bellies. Depth is our nature. It is who and what we are. So find ways to bring depth back into your life. Begin something that you know will take a long time. Make a space in your life for the roots of your own soul to grow freely. And gently and gradually let go of your addictions to those shallow drafts that intoxicate your brain. Be empty. Be curious about your inner world. Romance your shy and beautiful soul. And when you discover the treasure, keep it to yourself. Keep your depth a secret. It's for you, and it's for you alone. Oh, damn, I apologize. I didn't manage 6 minutes. What to do? Thanks for staying with me anyway.